Forza Horizon is without a doubt one of my favorite racing game series ever made. One of the reasons for that is these awesome worlds that they create for you to explore. Every single Forza Horizon game has offered us a beautiful, eclectic world to explore. But how many people actually appreciate these worlds? In racing games, it's so easy to just drive right past all the finer details. Do people see them? Like, yeah, you stop at event markers and at the garage, but usually even those things are just prerequisites so that you can go fast. Either you're starting a race, or you're going to the tuning shop to give your car more power, better tires, a bigger wing. I feel like that's an issue with racing games. People are so preoccupied with going fast that they forget to just stop, look around, and appreciate all the other details in the game. So I got the idea. What if, for a day, I just slowed everything down? Instead of ripping 270 miles per hour down the highway, or drifting around every corner, what if I just slowed down and appreciated the world around me, and really took in everything that Playground Games handcrafted for the players? I decided it was time to try something different, to trade speed for something slower, more deliberate. There were certainly plenty of options, but I kept coming back to the Ford Cortina. It's simple, unassuming, and easy to overlook. I found one at the auction house and got it for a cheap price, and then I decided to take it out for a ride. The Cortina wasn't super fast. It handled like a car from the 60s, and it was only a 4-speed. The one thing the Cortina did have is character. This is a good-looking car, even though it's simple. And it looks like it actually belongs on the road, unlike all the crazy hypercars that you see rolling around in Forza. It really feels like a normal car that's actually made for normal people. For the most part, that's what it was. In the 1960s, the world was quickly becoming more interconnected. There was a whole generation of drivers that were up and coming, and they needed cars that were dependable and simple and easy to understand. I drove down the dirt road until I came up to this river crossing. Honestly, most of the time in Forza, when you come up to places like this, you just blow right through them, but I didn't really want to do that this time. I actually did try wading in a little bit, but once I saw how deep the water was, I imagined if I was in real life and this Cortina was about to get stuck in this muddy river. I didn't want to do it. So I just turned the Cortina around and I went back the way I came. Now, a lot of Americans aren't actually all that familiar with the Ford Cortina, but over across the pond, it's a different story. The Cortina was the best-selling car in Britain in the 70s. There were 5 generations. This is the first generation, the Mark I. At this point, you're probably wondering, if this is such an everyday car, then why would they put it in Forza? And that's a fair question. While most Cortinas were just everyday cars, the 1.6-liter twin cam was a prolific touring car. Despite the Cortina actually having a serious racing history, I think it's totally acceptable to have more normal, everyday cars in racing games, because at the end of the day, these are the cars that most people relate the most to. I stopped at this little church just to have a peek around and appreciate the world around me. Before I left, I sized up the Cortina next to this Jeep Wrangler, just to get an idea of what kind of presence this car would have in real life. I said goodbye to this quaint little location with a spirited skid, and then I continued on my way. I couldn't help but feel that instead of just racing around from point to point, I was actually getting immersed in the game, in a way that I only ever really feel if I'm deep into a race that I'm really focusing on. I looked around at this crossroads, and initially I didn't want to go down that dirt road to my left, But then as I was driving away, I came to a realization. This is a car of the 60s. This thing was made to get a little dirty from time to time, to go down a dirt or a gravel road and handle it just fine. So I decided to go back and do some real driving in the Cortina. Sure, the whole point of this video is to slow down, but the car choice is actually part of that. It's not just about going slow the whole time, it's about appreciating some of the slower things in the game. And I wanted to see what this Cortina could do and how fast it could go down this dirt road, even though it's not the fastest car in the game by a long shot. There is one upside to going slower. You have a lot more time to enjoy the ride. I crossed through this intersection and I pulled off to the side at this little farmhouse. I just wanted to look around and appreciate the area. I could totally imagine the owner of this place having a Ford Cortina parked out front. I mean, other than the fact that we're supposed to technically be in Mexico. Throughout the production of the Mark I Cortina, there were actually 3 different engines that got made. There was the 1.4 liter, the 1.5 liter, and then the 1.6 liter twin cam. Now, the 1.6 liter twin cam was actually designed in conjunction with the British automotive company Lotus. Lotus was and still is known for their lightweight, agile sports cars. They put this engine into a modified, lighter weight version of the Cortina. It was very notably driven by the racing legend Jim Clark. At this point, I was getting admittedly a little bored, so I thought I'd try the radio. Then I changed my mind. I found myself driving through a drift zone. I can drift a lot of cars. I did struggle a bit with this one though, it just did not have the power to sustain anything. I came across this farm and I decided to go have another look around. I drove up the dirt road into the fields and I found these, well, I don't know exactly what they were. They looked like nurseries or something. It was just like these roofs over some plants. But I did notice that they matched the Cortina perfectly, so I pulled over and I got a good look. Man, what a delightful little car. There were some clouds rolling in and I'm pretty sure it was going to get dark, so I just decided to go to the nearest Horizon Festival. As I pulled in, I noticed this huge crowd and I liked to imagine they were all cheering on my Cortina. I had a lot of fun driving this car around, even though it's not something I would usually pick out for myself. I did a few donuts for the crowd just to commemorate the fun adventure I had. When I was thinking about ways that I could drive slow and still have fun, one thing that immediately came to mind was off-roading. I went into my garage and I found this Ford Ranger Raptor that I thought would be perfect for this kind of job. I outfitted it with off-road tires, an upgraded suspension, a roll cage, and some overlanding accessories. By the time I was finished, it was already looking like a beast, but I decided I would go the extra mile and put on an off-road livery. I found this red and black Raptor livery in the community files, and I thought it was cool, but I didn't really like this weird clown face on the back, and I thought it would actually be kind of fun to try to make my own. Look, I knew from the start that my livery wasn't going to look as good as that first one I had, but I think this is just in the spirit of slowing down, right? You take the time and make your own thing, and then you appreciate it more. I left the Horizon Festival, and I hopped onto the highway. I started heading down towards another section of the map. I thought that this area might have some more opportunities for off-roading. I enjoyed the sights along the way, and I even found this F-150 Raptor. It was like seeing my big brother out on the road. I finally got to where I was headed, and I found this sweet mountainside. I thought this would be the perfect place to go do some cool overlanding. I started climbing up this hillside just to kind of get a sense for what this Ford Ranger could do. It seemed pretty competent, and I felt like I was going to have an easy enough time trying to go and drive along these cliff sides and maybe even start some rock crawling if I could. This is something I've never really even tried in Forza, and I have to be honest, I was pleasantly surprised by how well it actually worked. I kind of had a feeling that the models for the landscape and stuff on these off-road areas were going to be poor and I was just going to be hitting invisible walls, but I actually had a pretty good time. I was able to plow through some of the brush, which made sense in an off-road capable vehicle like this, and I even was able to do some rock crawling. Or rock crashing, I don't know. Off-roading is a little bit out of my purview. It was fun to slowly drive around and explore in a kind of more realistic way, and it was also fun to see what I could get my Ranger on top of. I made sure to snap a quick action shot while I was on top of these rocks. I thought they really displayed my Ranger's capabilities. I tried to climb up this hill, but I think it was just a little bit too steep and I ended up falling down. And then I tried to recover and go up and around this rock, and I just lost it entirely and ended up having to go down and plow through this bush. At this point, there was something awesome going on where, even though I wasn't going fast or doing anything that on the surface was all that exciting compared to normal Forza driving, I was actually invested, and I didn't want to fall off these cliffs, and I didn't want to go tumbling down the rocks in my Ranger. Right here, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to make it through here because my truck was clipping on this tree, so I had to precariously back up, and I really thought I was going to fall, but I was able to gun it and actually get out of the situation. It was a lot of fun to weave in between all the bushes and the trees that I was seeing up on this hillside, and I kept finding these little spots where I could try to climb my truck up onto. Oh yeah, try doing that in your Koenigsegg. Eventually, I realized that I was ready to be done, so I started to make my way back down the hill. Before I left, I stopped on this ridge and I took one last look around, just to appreciate the landscape. As I was leaving, I got this message that someone had sent me a car randomly, so naturally I had to go to the barn and find what I had been sent. As I pulled up, I was 100% ready for it to be something ridiculous like a Fiat 500 or a Prius, I don't know. But it actually turned out to be something kind of cool. It was a '69 Charger, and it had already come in generally orange, so I was pretty ecstatic. I sent a quick thank you message to Your Mom Likes Me 21. I have no idea who that is, by the way. That's just a mechanic in Forza Horizon 5 where you can send random people cars. I think it's actually a really fun, community-oriented feature. I got back to the Horizon Festival, and I got ready for my last adventure. For my last vehicle, I decided I would do something different, and I decided to become a taxicab driver. For this, I chose a 1956 Chevrolet Utility Sedan 150. Yeah, that's right. The model name was just Utility Sedan. The main assembly plant for the engines in these cars was actually in Flint, Michigan. I wonder if that has anything to do with... Never mind. I drove off into the night to start my shift. After not too long, I got a call from a potential client.
Hey, I need a ride.
So I set my nav to Guanajuato, and I went to pick up my passenger. The ride was brief enough, and I was able to get a good view of the city as I came cresting over this hill. I realized that if I was going to be a good taxi driver, I had to at least try to drive smooth and give the passenger a good ride. Well, actually, have any taxis I've ever been in tried to do that? Anyways, I creeped my way up to the pickup spot, careful not to miss my passenger. It turned out to just be some drunk idiot. He needed a ride back to his beach house over in Playa Azul. I set off gently, making sure to keep things slow and smooth. had my map turned off, so I listened to my navigation and I tried to give the passengers a smooth ride as we made our way out of Guanajuato.
At the roundabout, take the third exit.
Now the Cortina was a 4-speed. This thing was a 3-speed, so we were working with even less gear ratio here.
Turn sharp left.
I couldn't help but be nervous as I took this blind left turn. I don't know why, but I had a feeling a Hellcat was going to come flying through at 200 miles per hour and destroy me. Luckily, we made it through safe, and we started the relaxing ride through the countryside over to, what was it again? Oh, Playa Azul. I came across this truck who was really taking his sweet time to drive down the road. It's not exactly like he had a full load, so he must have been taking some of that good. This guy in the X-Class was off the goop too. For a second I thought he was going to try to get out and fight me. As I was coming up towards the destination, I knew my passenger was sobering up because he stopped blathering on about how Drake May threw the Super Bowl.
Turn sharp left.
I dropped my passenger off just in time for a 5 a.m. bedtime. As I finished up, I started to think about how fun it was to go slow in Forza for once. Is it something I'm going to do all the time? No, probably not. It actually took a lot of discipline to drive so slow and really take my time. But it was fun to change things up, and it was also fun to slow down and take in this awesome world that Playground Games had crafted. I couldn't help but think about how someone must have placed every single bush, every tree, every tiki hut, every fence, every bicycle, every moped, every sign. It was all handcrafted. As I pulled up to the beach, I realized I was here just in time to watch a perfect sunrise. Am I ever going to sit on a beach in Mexico and watch the sunrise like this? I don't know, maybe, but it was still cool to experience it even if it was just in Forza. So, if you're looking for something new to do, and you like racing games, then maybe try slowing down.